First contact incident. The massive exploration vessel Horizon hung in orbit around the Azure planet, its hull gleaming in the light of the binary star system. Captain Maya Chen stood at the viewport, her dark eyes reflecting the swirling clouds beneath them. After 3 years of deep space exploration, they had finally found what Earth's United Space Command had been searching for, a habitable world with signs of advanced civilization. "Captain, the shuttle is prepped and ready," reported Commander Eli Novak, her second in command. His weathered face was marked with the same anticipation that coursed through the entire crew. "First contact protocols are in place." Maya nodded, her gaze still fixed on the planet they now called Viridia. "Any response to our transmission?" "Nothing yet, but our sensors are picking up significant energy readings from the northern continent. Whatever civilization is down there, they're technologically advanced." "Then let's go say hello," Maya said, straightening her uniform. "Diplomatic team to the shuttle bay in 15 minutes." The descent through Viridia's atmosphere was smooth, the planet's twin moons visible even in daylight. Maya had led first contact missions before, but never with a species that showed evidence of spacefaring capabilities. The stakes were higher this time. Humanity needed allies in this sector of the galaxy, not enemies. As the shuttle broke through the cloud layer, they got their first true glimpse of Viridia's surface. Crystalline structures rose from the landscape like massive geodes, connected by roads that shimmered with an iridescent material unlike anything on Earth. And moving among these structures were the planet's inhabitants. "My God," whispered Dr. Amelia Santos, the team's xenobiologist. "They're beautiful." The beings moved with fluid grace, their bodies tall and lithe with skin that ranged from pale silver to deep indigo. Most striking were the bioluminescent patterns that pulsed beneath their semi-translucent skin, creating hypnotic displays of light that seemed to communicate something the humans couldn't understand. "The Seraphim," Maya said, using the name they'd chosen from Earth's mythology. These beings, with their ethereal appearance, certainly resembled the ancient descriptions of celestial messengers. The shuttle landed in a clearing that appeared to be some sort of gathering place. As Maya led her team down the ramp, a delegation of Seraphim approached. They moved with cautious curiosity, their luminous eyes, with pupils that contracted vertically like a cat's, fixed on the human visitors. One Seraphim stood taller than the rest, its indigo skin marked with more complex patterns of bioluminescence. It wore what appeared to be armor made of the same crystalline material as their buildings, suggesting a position of authority. Maya stepped forward, palms open in the universal gesture of peace. "I am Captain Maya Chen of the Earth vessel Horizon. We come in peace and friendship." The translator implanted behind her ear processed the Seraphim's response, their language a complex series of clicks and musical tones. "I am Zarek, High Sentinel of the Seraphim Conclave," the translator rendered. "You are the first aliens to reach our world unharmed. This is unexpected." Maya exchanged glances with Dr. Santos. "Unharmed? Have you encountered other species before?" Zarek's skin flashed with patterns that the translator couldn't interpret. "Many have found Viridia. None have survived first contact. Our biology is incompatible with other life forms." A murmur went through the human team. This was not in any of their first contact scenarios. "Perhaps we could discuss this further," Maya suggested. "Cultural exchange is our primary mission. We believe in peaceful coexistence between different species." Zarek seemed to consider this, the patterns on his skin shifting rapidly. "Your species appears resilient. Come, we will take you to the Hall of Convergence." The diplomatic team followed the Seraphim delegation toward one of the crystal structures. As they walked, Maya noticed smaller Seraphim watching from various vantage points, their skin flashing with what she interpreted as alarm or excitement. Inside the Hall of Convergence, the air was thick with a sweet ozone-like scent. The walls pulsed with the same bioluminescence as the Seraphim's skin, creating an environment that felt alive. "Your world is remarkable," Maya said as they were led to a circular chamber. We hope this meeting will be the beginning of a beneficial relationship for both our species. Zarek skinned in slightly. That remains to be seen, Captain Chen. First, we must determine if you are truly different from those who came before. Before Maya could respond, a commotion erupted at the entrance to the chamber. A group of Seraphim warriors burst in, their skin flashing with urgent patterns. They spoke rapidly to Zarek, who turned to the humans with what Maya could only interpret as alarm. There has been an incident at our southern outpost, Zarek said. Another alien vessel has breached our space. They are attacking our people. Perhaps we can help, Maya offered immediately. If you're under attack. No, Zarek cut her off. You will remain here until we determine if you are connected to this incursion. As Zarek turned to leave with the warriors, one of the Seraphim guards moved too close to Dr. Santos. The xenobiologist stepped back instinctively, accidentally bumping into a crystalline pillar. The structure began to topple, and Maya lunged forward to prevent it from falling on her colleague. In the confusion, one of the agitated Seraphim warriors perceived the sudden movement as a threat. With lightning speed, it was upon Maya, its hands grasping her shoulders with incredible strength. Before anyone could react, the warrior bared a set of needle-like fangs and bit into Maya's exposed neck. Pain shot through Maya's body, sharp and immediate. She gasped, feeling a cold sensation spreading from the bite. The Seraphim leaped back, its skin flashing with what appeared to be shock. "Captain," Novak shouted, rushing to her side as she staggered. Maya pressed her hand to the wound, her fingers coming away wet with blood. "I'm okay," she said, though she wasn't entirely sure that was true. The chamber had fallen silent. The Seraphim were staring at her with what seemed to be disbelief, their skin patterns pulsing in unison. "Impossible," Zarek whispered, the translator struggling to convey the emotion behind the word. "You should be dead." Maya steadied herself, the initial pain already subsiding to a dull throb. "What do you mean?" "Our venom is fatal to all non-Seraphim life forms," Zarek explained, approaching her cautiously. "It is our primary defense mechanism. No species has ever survived contact with it. Until now." The implications of this revelation rippled through the chamber. Maya saw the way the Seraphim were looking at her now, not with hostility, but with something closer to awe. "I don't understand," she said. "Why would your biology be lethal to every other species?" Zarek's skin pulsed with complex patterns. "It is the curse of our evolution. We emerged as apex predators on a world filled with dangers. Our venom became the ultimate weapon, but it also isolated us. When we reached the stars, we discovered that the same venom that protected us made coexistence with other intelligent species impossible. Until now," Maya said, understanding dawning. Whatever quirk of human biology had saved her had just changed everything about this first contact. "Until you," Zarek agreed. His next words sent a chill through Maya, despite the warmth of the chamber. "And now, Captain Chen, you have become the most valuable being in this sector of the galaxy. Many will want to understand why you survive where others perish." Dr. Santos approached, scanning Maya with a medical device. "Captain, your vitals are stable, but there's something strange happening with your white blood cells. They're adapting to the venom somehow." Before Maya could process this information, Zarek gave a command. The chamber was suddenly filled with more Seraphim warriors, their crystalline weapons drawn. "I regret this necessity, Captain," Zarek said, his tone genuinely remorseful. "But you and your team must remain on Viridia while we investigate this phenomenon. Your immunity could be the key to changing our species' future." "We're being detained," Novak asked, his hand moving toward his sidearm. "Consider it protective custody," Zarek corrected. "There are forces in this galaxy who would destroy anything that threatens the established order. And you, Captain Chen, have just become the greatest threat of all." As the diplomatic team was led away, Maya caught Zarek studying her with intense fascination. She had come to Viridia seeking allies for humanity. Instead, She had discovered that humans possessed some unique trait that defied the natural laws of this part of the galaxy. And that discovery had just made them either the most valuable species in the sector or the most hunted. The biological mystery. The laboratory where Maya was being held bore little resemblance to its human equivalent. Instead of sterile white surfaces and hard angles, the Seraphim Medical Facility was composed of the same crystalline material as their other structures, but formed into flowing, organic shapes. The walls pulsed with the bioluminescence that seemed to be a hallmark of Seraphim technology, living light that responded to the movements and emotions of those around it. Maya sat on an examination platform, watching as Dr. Lyra, the chief Seraphim scientist, studied the results of her latest tests. 3 days had passed since the biting incident, and Maya had been subjected to a battery of examinations that would have made Earth's most advanced medical facilities seem primitive. "Your cellular structure is fascinating," Dr. Lyra said, her silver skin pulsing with patterns that Maya had come to recognize as scientific excitement. "The venom that should have destroyed your nervous system has been completely neutralized by your immune response." Maya rubbed the spot on her arm, where they had drawn yet another blood sample. "Have you figured out why?" "Not entirely," Lyra admitted. "But we have discovered something unusual in your genetic code. There are sequences that appear to have been modified." The statement hung in the air between them. Maya felt a chill that had nothing to do with the temperature of the laboratory. "Modified how?" she asked, though part of her already knew the answer. Lyra's skin flashed with patterns that the translator interpreted as uncertainty. "They do not appear to be natural evolutionary developments. They contain markers that suggest deliberate alterations." Maya closed her eyes briefly. The memories she had tried so hard to suppress came flooding back. A military hospital on Earth, doctors in hazmat suits, the experimental treatment that had saved her life, but changed her in ways she was never fully told about. 7 years ago, I was deployed to a colony world called Terrace Prime, Maya said quietly. There was an outbreak of a pathogen we called the Red Plague. Most of my team died within days. I was one of the few who survived the initial infection, but the disease was still killing me. Lyra moved closer, her luminous eyes fixed on Maya with intense interest. "The military had an experimental treatment program," Maya continued. "Something they had developed using recovered alien biotechnology. I was too far gone to give informed consent, so they used it on me anyway. I recovered completely, but they never told me exactly what they did to save me." "Your government altered your genetic structure," Lyra said, not a question but a confirmation. Maya nodded slowly. "I always suspected as much. After the treatment, I noticed changes: faster healing, increased stamina, enhanced immune response to subsequent infections. Nothing superhuman, just improvements. These improvements, as you call them, have made you uniquely compatible with Seraphim biology," Lyra explained. "The genetic alterations have given your cells the ability to neutralize our venom instead of succumbing to it." The door at the far end of the laboratory slid open, and High Sentinel Zerak entered. His indigo skin was pulsing with patterns that even without the translator, Maya could tell signified agitation. "What have you discovered?" he demanded. Lyra's skin flashed, and what Maya had learned was a gesture of deference. "The human's immunity is confirmed. Her genetic structure has been artificially enhanced, though she claims it was done as a medical treatment, not in preparation for contact with our kind." Zarek approached Maya, studying her with those unsettling vertical pupilled eyes. "Is this true, Captain Chen? Your people did not know of our existence when they altered you." "The treatment was 7 years ago," Maya replied evenly. "We only discovered Viridia 3 weeks ago. Unless Earth's government is even more secretive than I thought, there's no way they could have known about the Seraphim when they saved my life." Zarek seemed to accept this, his skin patterns shifting to something more contemplative. "Then we are dealing with an extraordinary coincidence, or perhaps something else entirely." "What do you mean?" Maya asked. The timing is suspicious, Zarak said. Your arrival coincides too perfectly with our greatest crisis. Maya frowned. What crisis? Zarek and Lyra exchanged looks, their skin flashing in silent communication. The Seraphim are dying, Lyra finally said. A degenerative condition is spreading through our population. Our scientists have been unable to develop a cure. I'm sorry to hear that, Maya said sincerely. But what does this have to do with me or my crew? Zarek's skin darkened. The condition affects our venom glands first, then spreads to the rest of our neurological system. Within a generation, our species faces extinction. And now, a human appears who is somehow immune to our venom. The first alien species ever to demonstrate such immunity. Maya began to understand. You think my modified genetics might hold the key to curing your people? The possibility exists, Lyra confirmed. Your cells don't just resist our venom. They actively neutralize it in a way we've never seen before. The conversation was interrupted by an alarm that caused the crystalline walls to pulse with urgent red patterns. Zarek's skin flashed in response, and he pressed what appeared to be a communication device embedded in his armor. We have a security breach, he announced. Captain, your ship is attempting a rescue operation. Maya stood. Let me talk to them. This doesn't have to escalate into conflict. Zarek hesitated, then nodded. Very well. But remember, you are too valuable to both our species now. I cannot allow you to leave Viridia. As Maya was escorted from the laboratory, she wondered what Commander Novak had planned. Her diplomatic team had been separated after their detention, and she hadn't seen any of them since. Whatever rescue attempt was underway, she needed to make sure it didn't destroy the fragile possibility of understanding that was developing between human and Seraphim. The security center of the Seraphim facility was a dome-shaped room with crystalline displays showing various parts of the complex. Maya could see images of human combat teams moving through corridors, their tactical gear marking them as the Horizon's security forces. Open a channel to the human commander, Zarek ordered. One of the Seraphim controllers manipulated the crystal interface, and Commander Novak's face appeared on the main display. Eli, stand down, Maya said immediately. The situation is under control. Novak's expression was grim. Captain, are you under duress? We've had no communication for 3 days. I'm fine, Maya assured him. We're on the verge of a significant breakthrough with the Seraphim. An armed intervention could jeopardize everything. The Seraphim have deployed defensive systems around their facility, Novak reported. Our sensors show they're preparing for a military response. Zarek stepped forward. Your forces have invaded our sovereign territory without provocation, Commander. We are merely defending ourselves. You took our captain and diplomatic team captive, Novak countered. That's provocation enough. Maya could see the situation deteriorating rapidly. Both of you, stop. There's something larger at stake here. She turned to Zarek. The Seraphim are facing extinction from a disease. They believe my modified genetics might help them find a cure. Novak's expression shifted from hostility to confusion. Modified genetics. Captain, what are you talking about? The experimental treatment after Terrace Prime, Maya said. It changed me, Eli. And now those changes might be the key to saving an entire species. Understanding dawned on Novak's face. The Red Plague Protocol. They never did tell us exactly what they did to you. No, they didn't, Maya agreed. But whatever it was, it's made me immune to the Seraphim venom. The first being from another species who hasn't died from their bite. Novak was silent for a moment, processing this information. So what are you proposing? A cooperative research effort, Maya said. Not detention, not rescue. Partnership. The Seraphim need what I have, and humanity needs allies in this sector. This could be the foundation of something unprecedented. Zarek's skin pulsed with complex patterns. Your proposal has merit, Captain Chen. But the question remains, why was your genetic structure altered in a way that specifically counters our venom? The statistical probability of such a coincidence is astronomical. I don't have that answer, Maya admitted, but I know someone who might. Dr. Marcus Reed was the lead scientist on the Red Plague treatment program. He's currently stationed at our outpost in the Proxima system. Then perhaps, Zarek said, his skin patterns shifting to what Maya had come to recognize as cautious optimism. We should invite Dr. Reed to Viridia. If your immunity is not coincidental, we need to understand why, and what it means for both our species. As arrangements were made for Dr. Reed's transport to Viridia and the stand-down of human forces, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the precipice of something much larger than a simple biological mystery. The coincidence was too perfect, the timing too precise. Someone or something had prepared humanity for this encounter. The question was, what did they know that Maya didn't? Uneasy Alliance. The joint research facility established in the crystal spires of Seraphim City hummed with activity. 2 weeks had passed since the confrontation between the Horizons rescue team and Seraphim security forces, and in that time, an uneasy alliance had formed between the two species. Maya watched from an observation platform as Dr. Marcus Reed worked alongside Dr. Lyra, their disparate forms, one human, one Seraphim, moving in coordinated patterns around laboratory equipment that combined both species' technologies. It's remarkable how quickly they've adapted to working together, Commander Novak said, joining Maya at the railing. Necessity is a powerful motivator, Maya replied. The Seraphim are facing extinction, and Reed's facing the scientific discovery of a lifetime. It's a compelling partnership. Novak leaned closer, lowering his voice. Have you considered the possibility that he knew more than he's admitting about your treatment? Maya had been wrestling with that question since Reed's arrival. The scientist had seemed genuinely surprised by the effect of her modified genetics on Seraphim Venom, but there was something in his manner, a hesitation when certain questions were asked, that made her wonder. If he knew, he's not saying, Maya replied, but I intend to find out. They descended to the laboratory level, the crystalline floors pulsing with light beneath their feet. When they entered the main research area, Reed looked up from a holographic display showing DNA sequences. Captain Chen, perfect timing, he said, his enthusiasm evident. We've made a breakthrough. Maya approached the display. What have you found? Reed manipulated the hologram, zooming in on a particular sequence. The genetic modifications from your treatment didn't just enhance your immune system. They incorporated elements that are remarkably similar to Seraphim DNA. That's impossible, Maya said, feeling a chill run through her. Earth had no contact with the Seraphim 7 years ago. Not with the Seraphim specifically, Reed agreed. But the biotechnology used in your treatment came from artifacts recovered during the Proxima expedition. We never identified their origin. High Sentinel Zarek entered the laboratory, his indigo skin pulsing with patterns that Maya had learned to interpret as intense interest. The Proxima expedition. That was to the abandoned world in the neighboring system. Reed nodded. A scientific mission discovered ruins and technology from an unknown species. Some of the biological samples were still viable despite being thousands of years old. The ancestors, Zarek said, his voice reverent. You discovered the remnants of our forebears. Before the Great Migration, the Seraphim inhabited several worlds in this sector, including what you call Proxima. The pieces began to fall into place for Maya. So the treatment that saved me used genetic material from the ancient Seraphim. Not just used it, Reed explained. It integrated it into your DNA. The procedure was experimental, designed to create a hybrid immune response that could fight the Red Plague. We never anticipated it would make you immune to modern Seraphim venom. But how is that possible? Lyra asked, her silver skin flashing with patterns of scientific fascination. Our venom has evolved significantly since the time of the ancestors. That's where it gets interesting, Reed said, manipulating the hologram to show another sequence. Captain Chen's modified cells don't just resist the venom. They recognize it as part of their own structure and neutralize the toxic components while preserving the base compounds. And this helps us how? Zarak asked, cutting to the practical implications. Reed and Lyra exchanged glances. We believe we can use Captain Chen's genetic modifications as a template to create a treatment for the seraphim degenerative condition. Lyra explained. The human DNA stabilizes the neurological components that are breaking down in your people. A cure derived from human genetics, Zarak said, his skin pulsing with what seemed to be both hope and concern. The Conclave will find this challenging to accept. They'll accept it if the alternative is extinction, Maya pointed out. The discussion was interrupted by an alarm that caused the crystalline walls to pulse with urgent patterns. A Seraphim security officer rushed into the laboratory, skin flashing with emergency signals. High Sentinel, we've detected multiple ships entering the system, the officer reported. They're not human vessels. Zarek's skin darkened. Configuration. Vex battle fleet, the officer replied. At least 7 capital ships. The name sent a visible reaction through every Seraphim in the room. Maya turned to Zarak. Who are the Vex? A species we've had conflicts with for centuries, Zarak explained grimly. They are physiologically similar enough to us that our venom doesn't affect them, which has made them our primary rivals in this sector. And they know about the research, Novak asked. They must, Zarak confirmed. The Vex have spies everywhere. If they've learned that we're close to curing the degenerative condition, and that humans are immune to our venom, they would see it as an existential threat to their dominance. Maya could see the strategic implications immediately. A healthy Seraphim population allied with humans would shift the balance of power in the sector. Precisely, Zarak agreed. And the Vex will not allow that to happen without a fight. The security officer's skin flashed with new information. High Sentinel, the Vex fleet has deployed dropships. They're heading for the research facility. Evacuate all research personnel to the secure levels, Zarak ordered. Transfer all data to the backup servers beneath the city. Maya turned to Novak. Contact the Horizon. Have them prepare for emergency extraction if necessary. As the laboratory erupted into organized chaos, Reed approached Maya with a data crystal. Captain, take this. It contains everything we've learned so far, including the treatment protocol we've developed. You're not coming with us? Maya asked. Reed shook his head. Someone needs to finish the work here, and I understand the integration process better than anyone else. Lyra and I can complete the final synthesis if you can buy us enough time. Before Maya could argue, a massive explosion shook the facility. The crystalline walls vibrated with the impact, their bioluminescence flickering erratically. They've breached the outer defenses, Zarak announced. Captain Chen, your immunity to our venom makes you their primary target. You must be protected at all costs. I'm not leaving while your people are under attack, Maya insisted. This isn't about heroics, Zarak countered, his skin pulsing with urgent patterns. The genetic template you carry is the key to our survival. If the Vex capture you, they will use that information to ensure our extinction. Another explosion, closer this time, made the decision for them. Part of the laboratory ceiling collapsed, separating Maya and Novak from Reed and the Seraphim researchers. Go, Reed shouted through the gap. Get that data to safety. We'll continue the work here for as long as we can. With reluctance, Maya allowed Zarak to lead her and Novak through a series of emergency corridors. They could hear weapons fire and the distinctive high-pitched sound of Vex energy weapons. Where are we going? Maya asked as they descended a spiral ramp. To the ancient chambers beneath the city, Zarak explained. There's a transport system there that can take us to our secondary research facility in the polar region. The Vex won't be able to follow. As they reached a massive door made of what appeared to be solid crystal, Maya's communication device activated. The face of Captain Hiroshi, the Horizon's current acting commander, appeared. Captain Chen, we're detecting multiple hostile ships in orbit, Hiroshi reported. They've deployed some kind of energy web around the planet. We can't get through to extract you. Hold position, Captain, Maya ordered. Avoid engagement unless directly attacked. We're working on an alternative extraction plan. Understood, but there's something else you should know, Hiroshi added. We're picking up transmissions between the Vex fleet and an unknown source in the Proxima system. Whatever's happening there is connected to the Red Plague research facility. The implication sent a chill through Maya. Someone gave the Vex information about the research. It appears so, Hiroshi confirmed grimly. Be careful, Captain. This may be bigger than just the Seraphim cure. As the communication ended, Maya exchanged looks with Novak. The timing of all this, it's too coordinated. You think Earth's government knew about the Seraphim all along? Novak asked. I think someone did, Maya replied. And they used me as a test subject to see if human Seraphim genetic compatibility was possible. Zarak, who had been working to open the ancient door, turned to them. If that is true, then the question becomes, why? What purpose would be served by creating humans who can withstand our venom? The door finally slid open, revealing a vast underground chamber filled with technology that looked far more advanced than what they had seen in the city above. Welcome to the legacy of the ancestors, Zarak said, his skin pulsing with reverent patterns. This is where we will make our stand, and where we will discover the truth behind your mysterious immunity, Captain Chen. As they entered the ancient chamber, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking into the final piece of a puzzle that had been set in motion long before any of them were born, a puzzle whose solution would determine the fate of both their species. Salvation through synthesis. The ancient Seraphim facility beneath the polar ice cap hummed with energy that seemed to flow through the very crystal of its construction. Maya had never seen anything like it, technology that appeared to be both mechanical and organic, pulsing with the same bioluminescence as Seraphim skin, but magnified 1,000-fold. Our ancestors built this place as a sanctuary during the Great Migration, Zarak explained as he led Maya and Novak through vast chambers filled with dormant machinery. It contains their most advanced technologies, many of which we've lost the knowledge to recreate, including genetic engineering technology. Maya asked, beginning to connect the disparate pieces of the puzzle. Yes, Zarak confirmed. The ancestors were masters of biological synthesis. They could merge genetic traits across species, creating new forms of life. They'd reached a central chamber where a small team of Seraphim scientists were already at work, having been evacuated from the main facility before the Vex attack. Dr. Lyra was among them, her silver skin pulsing with urgent patterns as she manipulated holographic displays. Dr. Reed, Maya asked, noticing the human scientist's absence. Lyra's skin dimmed slightly. He refused to leave the primary laboratory. He said he needed to complete a critical stage of the synthesis. Maya felt a surge of respect for the scientist and guilt that she had suspected his motives. Can you establish communication with the main facility? We've been trying, Lyra replied. But the Vex have established jamming fields around the city. We can't get a clear signal. A Seraphim technician approached, skin flashing with what Maya had learned to interpret as alarm. High Sentinel, our deep space monitors have detected additional Vex vessels entering the system. They're deploying toward the Proxima Gate. They're trying to cut off all access to this sector, Zarak concluded grimly. Once they control the gate, no reinforcements can reach us, not from Earth, not from anywhere. How long until the cure is ready? Maya asked Lyra. Without Dr. Reed's final calculations, Lyra's skin pulsed with uncertainty. Days, perhaps. And we don't have days. Maya studied the data displays, the complex genetic sequences that represented the integration of human and Seraphim DNA. What if we could accelerate the process? How? Lyra asked. My blood, Maya said simply. You've been trying to synthesize a treatment based on my modified genetics. What if instead we used my actual cells as a starting point? Lyra's skin flashed with alarm. The amount of blood we would need to treat even a small population of Seraphim would be Fatal for her, Novak interrupted. No, Captain, that's not an option. I wasn't suggesting a complete transfusion, Maya clarified. But what if we could amplify the effect? Use the ancestors' technology to enhance the properties of my modified cells and create a self-replicating treatment. Zarek studied her with those unsettling vertical pupilled eyes. You're suggesting using technologies we barely understand to alter your biology even further. The risk would be enormous. So is the risk of doing nothing, Maya countered. The Vex are coming. They'll find this facility eventually. And when they do, they'll ensure that no cure ever reaches the Seraphim population. Lyra's skin pulsed with scientific interest. There is a procedure the ancestors described in their records. They called it genetic resonance. It amplifies specific traits and creates a biological template that can be replicated. Has it ever been tested on a human? Novak asked, concern evident in his voice. It's never been tested on any non-Seraphim, Lyra admitted. The process could be unpredictable. Maya looked at the genetic displays again, seeing the patterns that represented the future of an entire species, a species that had evolved to be toxic to all other life forms, isolated by their own biology until her modified genetics had offered a glimpse of hope. Do it, she decided. If there's even a chance this could save the Seraphim and stop the Vex, the risk is worth it. Captain, Novak began to protest. That's an order, Commander, Maya said firmly. While I undergo the procedure, I need you to establish contact with the horizon. Find out what's happening in orbit and prepare a counteroffensive against the Vex fleet. Reluctantly, Novak nodded and left to carry out her orders. Preparations for the genetic resonance procedure began immediately. Maya was taken to a chamber that appeared to be carved from a single massive crystal, its walls pulsing with patterns that,